Good morning and welcome back to We Got Options with the Doctor and Son. And today we're going to actually do a almost like a part two of our last show. We're really going to talk a little bit more about the book writing process and kind of getting into authorship. Because I know people do have questions or want to get into authorship. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone have a story inside of them, is what I like to say. And I've heard someone say that the best stories don't really ever get out because people take it with them and they die with those stories in them. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to do when, in terms of creating a having a book, creating that authorship for myself and doing those things, as well as providing a segue for both my sons to be able to come into that level of business if they ever decide to or they ever want to. So, with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit today about just getting into authorship and publishing a book or writing a book. And that's just something that me and Tremaine is going to kind of go back and forth with here and just, talk about it for the most part. Tremaine, you want to go ahead and kind of ask me some of the specific questions that you.
Like the first basic question that I would ask is like how did you first get started?
So, with getting started with the book, one of the big things that I did, and my name of my book is Fragile Brokenness. One of the big things about getting started with the book was just realizing that, again, I have a story. I want to share that story, but realizing that I had started this book many times in the past and realizing that I never got past the first page or two, or even the first chapter per se. And I thought it was just kind of hard for me to figure out what I was doing and what I was really writing about. So what I did was I ended up getting a co-writer to come in with me to start the process, who was an author himself. And so Kevin is that individual, and he's been working with me for a few months to get me going, Mr. Kevin Taylor. And with that being said, he started with interviews. He just started interviewing me and asking me questions and things of that nature to kind of get more of a basis of who I am. I believe, of course, probably have other reasons why he did what he do, and he probably have other techniques to how he go through this whole process of writing a book with someone. But for me and him, it was just conversations after conversations that were really good conversations of really him getting to know me because my book is pretty much a kind of an autobiography. It's a story of me telling about my life and telling about, how I came across mental health concerns and mental health conversations and things of that nature that I was a very young person that was coming across this stuff. And when I look back on my life, I do all this reflection. I realized that, I can bring all this stuff into play that, mental health has been a big part of my life in different, segues in different areas. And, putting it all together, for me, it was overwhelming. Having him on board, bringing Mr. Kevin Taylor on board, it was a whole lot more smooth sailing, and the writing process just came. And once we started, it just kept on going. And one of the reasons why I really, of course, needed to have a co-writer with me is because I'll be honest, my dissertation, I did it 5 years ago, and I swear to anyone, it almost took me out of here. The dissertation process, it felt easy because we did it over a period of time with the school that I was attending, but it was very difficult right close to the end or getting to the end of it with a lot of the writing and the editing and going over a lot of things. So, excuse me, becoming a doctor was great, but going through the process was horrendous. And I will say that having Mr. Kevin Taylor on board with me doing the co-writing, that was a big part of getting me started. And then that extra push to keep me going. So that was definitely a big thing for me. So that's how I started going about getting things situated to get started, actually writing the book and going from there. So, and then we kind of got to some good areas where he was really instrumental in helping me. So, but with that, it was a process, definitely.
Yeah, okay. We have like a few minutes left, but I'll go on and ask this. You mentioned Mr. Kevin Taylor. Could you? How did you meet him?
So actually, I met Mr. Taylor through a colleague. Chris Matthews, he wrote a book and he, used Mr. Taylor as well. Mr. Taylor has worked with a lot of great people, a lot of great artists in the past. He's definitely helped Natalie Cole with her book. And so that was one of the big things that really struck out to me is that, oh my goodness, he's, a great author. So I wanted to have him. That's how I met him. I always tell people you just don't know who you might meet through other people and doing things. So that was one of the greatest things that I picked up and met Mr. Taylor a few years ago, actually, about a year or two ago, and then was able to pick up and meet with him last year to go ahead and get started with my book. So, but it was a blessing, definitely a blessing. And of course, anybody interested in meeting with Mr. Taylor or trying to do anything with Mr. Taylor, he has a website online. You look up Kevin E. Taylor, he's right there. And he is a helper. So that's the blessing I got through Chris Matthews to meet Mr. Taylor and get things going. So Kevin Taylor, he's the man. He got me going.
Well, on that note, we'll be right back up with the We Got Options radio show with the doctor and son.
Hi, this is Dr. Latasha McElwain, and I would like to introduce my first book. The name of my first book is Fragile Brokenness, the unspoken secrets that shape a pretty unprotected girl into a practicing clinician and therapist. My key phrase is, when life gave me lemons, I gave life a doctor. I hope this would be an inspiring read for everyone with inspiring experiences and heavy experiences that will bring about the importance of being self-aware, dealing with traumas, and being focused on your mental health wellness. The proof is in the journey. I hope you enjoy my book, Fragile Brokenness, the unspoken secrets that shape a pretty unprotected girl into a practicing clinician and therapist. Sales begin December 2023. And we're back with We Got Options with the doctor and son. And now we're going to finish just our little interview, a little talk back and forth here between Tremaine and I, just really talking about the book process and getting involved and kind of so that other folks would be able to possibly hear this broadcast and realize that it's something they can do and it's something they should really aspire to do, and just really take their time, even if they need some assistance, like we mentioned earlier, getting a co-writer, they can do just that. So
yeah, I was thinking about for the next question. I mean, how did the publishing process go?
Okay, so publishing has changed. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm glad that's the question you're asking me. So publishing has changed where years ago we had to go through a publishing company that would work with us for to get publishing out there. We would have to go with I'm just going to just say names like bookstore names like Books A Million, or we had to go with Barnes and Noble, or we had to go, those are bookstores. I'm just saying, but if those were the the companies that held all the publishing rights, then those are the companies we would have to go to say, hey, I have a manuscript, I have a book, I would like for you to read it and see if it is worthy of being published. If it was worthy of being published, then and they needed someone or they needed something in that area, in that genre, then they would definitely look to publish my book. But if they decided that wasn't what they needed right now, and they had enough, for me, I'm a Black woman. They have enough Black women talking about empowerment or talking about whatever it is I'm talking about. Then they would tell me, no, they don't have really anything for right now. And I've also heard that some publishing companies would tell you that no, they don't have anything for that area and ask you if you would change it up. But if you go over in this area, then maybe you could change your manuscript some and do this right here. I don't know how true that is. These are stories I've heard, of course, because I never went through the process. But I understand that is the way it goes when it comes down to publishing. Now, what I can testify to is that it's the way it goes when it comes down to being a published academia. When you're academia, a person that has a doctoral degree and things like that, a lot of our publications are articles that go into journals. And so that is how it goes. It have to go before a panel of individuals that'll say yay or nay. So that's how you kind of get into the publishing realm of things, typically. But now everything has changed. We're in a new generation. We're in a new time, a new era. Technology has done amazing things. And that's when I decided I wanted to be self-published. And being self-published means I went through Amazon, and it's a pretty easy but not easy process. So it's easy but not easy, meaning that you still have to get your book, after you write your book, you still have to get your book edited. Whether you get, and I did a great thing because I got family members and we all kind of edited the book together, and then moved into professional editing. And with that being said, I mean, I have a doctorate degree. I have an aunt that have a doctorate degree, and I have aunts and mom and other people that are avid readers. So those individuals got a copy of the manuscript prior. And with that being said, the we did the, like, I call it the family editing. So we did the family editing, and then after that we moved it on to a professional editor that really got things together and got everything tight and ready for publication. From there, the editor that I did end up hiring put together a what the cover would look like for the book. They also went through and made sure everything was aligned correctly inside the book. You do have to make sure that you have the formatting just right. And great for me, Mr. Kevin Taylor was on the front end of that, and so he did a lot of the formatting on the front of it. So that was amazing too. And once we got to the editor was able to go in there and get everything else situated. And so everything really turned out really amazing for us going through Amazon for the publishing. And it was a matter of a few days to get everything just together and move everything on. Now, when you do go to an individual to help them to edit and publish and get the covers and all these other things made, you do have to give them time. That was the one thing I realized was I wanted to do a early December drop, but book coming out, then book launch. But I ended up with a late December book launch, or the book actually coming out. And that was fine with me because by Christmas, a few days before Christmas, basically my book was my Christmas gift to myself. The book was finished with editing, out of production. It was ready to go, and they sent it to me, and I was impressed by it. I loved it. We went ahead and immediately went to the publishing. And once we got everything through Amazon, and Amazon made the approvals that they would make through all of that, you really go from there. The beautiful part of it is when you're going through Amazon, you're not really taking anything out of your pocket at that time. It's just going on there to publish your book. I think that's amazing. That's a wonderful way of doing things. And that's where I think the tables have turned when it comes down to publishing, where I say everyone should be in a position nowadays to get themselves from writing to actually being published, and then actually having their book out in the market. So once the book was published, the book hit the market right before Christmas, around December 20th, 21st, and December, I think between December 18th and the 25th, 24th or 25th or something like that, but it hit the market around that time. And it was definitely a process, but there are a lot of steps in the middle, but I gave all of them pretty much that I went through. You can do from getting the editor to the person to get the publishing done and all that stuff. You can do a lot of different things. You can hire someone to do it. You can learn the process and do it yourself. I have gone in and made some things on Amazon also, but didn't make them published to the public. I just made them something for me to have to say that I can actually do a cover for a book and actually, get it, taken care of. So I've done a few different things on Amazon myself, but it is a process that anybody can learn how to do and can, be pretty successful with being self-published and getting your word out there, getting your story out there. So yeah, that was pretty much my big experience when it comes down to publishing. I think the only thing else I can add with that is I learned about a couple of new sites. Well, actually, one new site particular that I actually used and was grateful that it was there is the Fiverr site. And the Fiverr site is so good that it gives you plenty of different ways of doing things. Like even for this show, if I wanted the intro and the outro, this on Fiverr, you can get someone to help you create that and get that out there and get going. Fiverr is one of those places where it's a lot of freelancing happening. So people can help you do your resume. People can help you pitch a business deal or present a business idea to other individuals. They got people out there doing all kind of stuff, voiceovers. It's just a lot of great stuff they got on there, and they got people on there that's helping with books. They're helping you to edit your book. They're creating stuff for you. They help you put a whole book together. I mean, they have the works on Fiverr, and I think that's a good thing. And I just wanted to mention that. Not that I'm doing anything for them or but yeah, it's definitely a good place to go to meet people and see what people are doing and be able to help other people as well. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, on that note, we'll be right back with the We Got Options radio show with the doctor and son.
Insightful Options, PLLC, providing counseling, consultation, and DWI services in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Contact us at www.insightful-options.com 704-492-1105. And we're back with We Got Options with the doctor and son. And Tremaine have a few more questions for me, but before we go into those questions, I just wanted to give a quick rundown here of what we have going on for my book, Fragile Brokenness. Basically, you can purchase my book, of course, on Amazon, as well as we are also putting a lot of our information out on YouTube. And on YouTube, we are under Insightful Options, and we're also under Insightful Options 1. So you'll be able to hear more about the book. You'll be able to hear more about what we have going on for all of our businesses. And then you'll also be able to hear more shows and, what we have going on. And as we continue on throughout the rest of the year, you'll be able to hear a lot of that good information. We'll again be on Insightful Options. YouTube, you would look for Insightful Options or Insightful Options 1. If you go to one, it'll take you to the other one. It'll do all that fun stuff. And then, of course, our websites, www.insightful-options.com. And we got drlatashamcilwain.com. And then we got the Green McIlwain Foundation.org. And then also, I'm just going to put out there that we have the book signings coming up February the 3rd at 615 East 6th Street in Charlotte. Again, that's 615 East 6th Street in Charlotte. And then we'll also have one Saturday, February the 24th at 2921 High Market Street in Georgetown. Again, that's Saturday, February 24th at 2921 High Market Street in Georgetown, South Carolina. So, all right. So with that, Tremaine has a few more questions for me.
Yes. Could you give us like a timetable in terms of like if I were to get started right now, how long it would maybe take me to get through?
Well,
I know it would vary, but
yeah, it does vary. My time frame was really I gave myself 6 months to get started. I met with Mr. Taylor around the end of July and was ready to roll in August. Started doing some of my good stuff in August and meeting and talking and getting the writing process done. And once we started, the writing process, it just kind of went from there. And everything was kind of ready to go. And on the back end, I went through and, found my editor and did all the things that I did. It was a real good, I always say it was a real good bonding scenario with my family members because everyone was able to read the manuscript before the book came out. But did some family editing, then went and found my editor and worked with my editor to get everything done. So by Christmas, like I said, Christmas, December 25th, I was a published author by December 25th. So few months there. Yeah. I tell people about 6 months. You could do it in less than that if you would like, but yeah, I mean, because I think as long as you got, what you wanting to do, you can definitely take care of it in no time. I don't think it'll take 6 months, but it took me 6 months. And I was just gauging myself as well. I always tell people, remember, I always talk about being on a shoestring budget. I started all my business on a shoestring budget. And even though I may have the funds to do things, I still go from a shoestring budget because it helps me to understand and realize what business is really like when you cannot, do the big things, the grand things when you're ready to do those grand things, when you want to do it per se, but when you are at a point where you're ready to do it, then you'll be able to do it. So that's kind of the time frame, is, taking it little by little and kind of going. And for me, the second time I do things is usually that's when it's, big and spectacular most times because I've already generated and put enough into it that I'm able to, go bigger the next time.
speaking of the like the budget and everything, how much would you say you budgeted for it, for writing the book?
So for me, for writing the book, the budgeting was relatively low. I probably, I'll tell anybody if you want to write a book, it just depends on the route that you'll go. If you're writing on your own, you could very much write on your own and be pretty set when you don't have to pay anyone to be a co-writer or anything like that, because those are expenses. You have to pay people to do, co-authoring with you. You pay people to do this, that, and the other, because they're bringing their expertise to the table for you. So that's what I have with someone bringing their expertise to have many books out there to the table to help me get my book going. So when we're talking about that, I'll tell people, roughly the investment is really, I would say it's under 10,000, but definitely over 5,000 if you're going to use a lot of the other people that you need to jump in with into it with you, into the project with you to make sure that the project is successful. So shoestring, I tell people you don't have to do 5,000, 10,000 up front. It's over a 6 or 7 months period or over a year period. And that's kind of how I like to do things. And like I tell people, I was blessed to be able to, work in that capacity or that manner. So, I mean, again, it just depends. And, it depends on who you are and how you're doing things. Hearing $5,000 to $10,000 might put people at a point where I can do it in a year. And that is possible. That can happen. That is very much something that could definitely happen 1 year or even, going a little bit longer, 2 years to get a book out there. That could be something. But I think just starting to plan and starting to prepare for it is something that I really, really, advise people to do. If you've already got your manuscript written or you're working on your manuscript and you can do it all by yourself, that is heaven sent, of course. That's a blessing from above. And then moving into the editing part and the formatting and all that stuff, you can hire someone to do that for you. You can get that freelance stuff you want to, or you can go about doing it yourself if you are able to do all the studying. Nowadays, we have YouTube. YouTube can teach you anything. So that's kind of what I see. That's kind of what I know. And that would be my advice, is just really research it and make sure it's something that you want to put the investment in, because you are investing in you. So yeah, I think it's an amazing, it was an amazing journey, and it's going to continue to be an amazing journey that I've been on. I'm taking my family on the ride with me. So
Well, on that note, we'll be ending the show. We Got Options radio show with the Doctor and Son. We'll see you next week.
We Got Options with the Doctor and Son, a family conversation discussing mental health and wellness topics weekly with a variety of special guest appearances. Join us every Friday morning at 8:30 a.m. on www.wdrbmedia.com.